my God, I have to fix my tie. We got sound. We got the right sound. Let's wait for the video signal. Good, nice video signal. Reduce a bit of brightness here. And we're ready to begin. Well, hello and welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And we haven't been alive in a while. I've been, I've been busy with my body language guide channel as well. But here we are to update you finally with fresh tidbits about what's going on at the Montecito house. And I have to remind you that everything that we are going to talk about today is allegedly. I don't want to get into trouble. I usually get into trouble, but I don't want to get into more trouble. So that's the disclaimer today. A lot of beautiful rogues around. Oh my God, already 500 rogues online. Remember to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, all you have to do is to hit the subscribe button. So let's begin. I have my annotations here. Rogues from all over the world: Florida, Romania, Belgium, Germany. This is amazing. Thank you for being here. Yes, today is flat tie. I have to fix my tie. Why is not like going all right? Has to be aligned. Has to be the correct alignment. All right. We are ready to begin. What's going on? What's going on at Netflix? You know that one of the things that we are eager to, we are anticipating are these two projects of the Polo documentary from Harry, which the original release date was November of this year. It is going to be pushed, but I'm getting ahead of myself. And the problem is the production and logistics of the Polo documentary have been a bit problematic. You know that, especially if you are filming all over the world, it takes a lot of planning. It needs to be scheduled, everything, the trips, if you're going to have some kind of cup in the country that you're going to, if you're going to have interviews of important figures of Polo, you have to get all that sorted out. And imagine, I want you to imagine who is like the wrench thrown in the machine. Well, Harry is doing his best. Well, maybe he's just doing what he's told, but Harry is supposed to be the glue, so to speak, that keeps everything together for the Polo documentary. That is the appeal, right? It would be disappointing if you have a 6-episode documentary about Polo and Harry appears like at the start of the first episode and I don't know, around the 4th episode or something like that. Because the idea is that he is like maybe not the protagonist, but the host of the whole thing. Like the one who explains things, the one who interviews. That is the appeal so far of how this is working. But for that to work, he has to travel a lot and under a very tight schedule. But what is the problem here? That all the traveling has scheduling conflicts. And the most important scheduling conflict is that Harry doesn't really like to travel. We already know that he likes to stay at home at his chicken coop with the kids, whatever. He doesn't like to work. He barely tolerates going to those very boring meetings at Better Up. But right now he needs to go to those polo matches, and at least he likes playing polo. So that's something that could be positive for him. That would be great for him to do. But, well, the issue is Meghan doesn't want Harry to travel alone. Or maybe I should reward that. Meghan wants to go with Harry. And that complicates things tenfold. Not only because, well, this is, you know that I don't like to talk about the children. Wait a second. I want to, all right. You know, I don't like to talk about the children. I think most of children's are off limits for the most part, but they usually, Harry and Meghan talk about them. So I'm going to talk in the terms that Harry and Meghan talk about them. So that's okay. Not going to say anything out of the ordinary. I'm going to talk about the children from Harry and Meghan's perspective, from a parenting perspective. Like it should be rather easy to travel with the children because the children are still little, are small, right? So that would be an option, but you see how the level of schedule and complication comes from trying to fit Harry's schedule to trying to fit Harry's and Meghan's schedule and trying to fit the whole family's schedule. It becomes a logistics nightmare. As in, it would be far easier if Harry just went on his own to whatever he has to do because he's got under this contract at Netflix and, well, how to say this, he gets the job done. Now, one thing that I've always wanted to know, if it's Harry, what is the kind of contract that Netflix has with Harry and Meghan? Because I'm still trying to, I don't know how to express this, but I'm still have a pain when I imagine if Netflix actually paid these people out of pocket 100 million, expecting that they were going to get back that money. Well, that is really bad. But the problem is this, that Meghan wants to go with Harry, absolutely wants to appear in some way or another on Harry's polo show. You know, when the show is Meghan's show, Harry does not appear. But when the show, like the Invictus Games, is Harry's show, Meghan always is. This has never failed to be that way. No matter what Harry does, it is never just Harry's show or project. No, Meghan is with him. And usually Meghan has her projects on her own. That is a bit unfair, and I don't know, maybe Harry doesn't feel that confident about himself running a show by himself. But well, we have this, and the Polo documentary had an original release date of November, and meeting that November deadline would require a miracle at this point, because it is my understanding that they do not have content for a teaser yet. They don't have content even for a teaser. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that they release a teaser for the Polo documentary, and there are these quick edits here and there, and they even use, as they did for the teasers, you remember the teasers of the documentary of Harry and Meghan. In those teasers, they use stock photos of photographers at a Harry Potter premiere, because they didn't have the real deal, the actual stuff. So I won't be surprised that if they release a teaser for the Polo documentary, it will have stock footage of polo players, just to make it seem that they are doing something. And again, the Polo documentary is more or less going forward if it was not for the production companies. And we know that Archwell Productions are working on it. But it's not only about Archwell Productions. And we already know that Archwell Productions by themselves, they haven't been able to produce a single piece of content. Because who actually runs Archwell Productions? Well, Meghan mostly. And you know what is Meghan's priority? Just appear in headlines. That is her priority. That is the issue. So the other production companies of the Polo documentary, this is something normal, especially if you have a documentary that needs a lot of logistics and traveling. Maybe one production company would focus on South Africa, the other in Australia, and so forth. They're handling other projects simultaneously, including those from Archwell Productions. So it's like, as long as they don't have the right schedule, the right traveling schedule, they have their hands tied. And again, this is not only about traveling. This is about cups, and this is about organizing tournaments and the like, and organizing those interviews in those countries. I think they did not realize that to make a really compelling series, it would have been a bit difficult, because as I've told you, it's not that that polo is a sport that you cannot just make a series of, because it's Formula One. Formula One has a Drive to Survive, an extremely successful series, and well, Formula One is it's a very, how to say that, exclusive sport. Not everybody can just go and play Formula One or drive a Formula One car, but a lot of people watch the sport, the motorsport. It could be done with polo, with the right storytelling and with the right tools, but it would be quite expensive, because you need all that stuff, and I don't think they thought this through. Worse yet, Ted Sarandos is angry because the cooking show, you remember Meghan's cooking show, is still on hold. I have my notes right here. This might be, hands down, one of the worst deals in Netflix short history. 100 million for what? And you have to understand the amount of regret that the Netflix people have since the documentary of the Beckhams had not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but 5 Emmy nominations. 5. And I stress this a couple times, because this is a lovely reminder that Harry and Meghan's documentary had exactly 0 Emmy nominations. This is something to think about. This is embarrassing. And you know for how long the documentary was being produced, how many unreleased footage and family footage Meghan invested on that documentary, thinking that it was going to, break every record, and people were going to flock to Netflix to watch it. Well, at least I have my conscience clear. Like, we did the impossible back then. Was watch the documentary from literal beginning to end. That's why I'm bringing back my Locals account, by the way. That was only possible to do, streaming the Netflix horrormentary on my Locals account. We watched all 6 episodes. I remember that. I don't know how I survived the 6th episode. That was completely that is one of the greatest achievements of my life. So Not everything is lost for Meghan and her cooking show. They actually have content to release a teaser, something to throw to the public to see what happens. The last attempt to save the cooking show is releasing a teaser to gauge public interest using content from the pilot. And I have told you, I don't think the cooking show is gonna be made, is gonna be released. At this point, too complex of a show. According to sources, all episodes of the show have been filmed already. No backstage pictures, no Instagram posts, nothing. All right, maybe that is a different strategy, I guess. But should a teaser be released, that is going to be comedy gold. That would be 48 hours, at least 48 hours. That would be insane, at least for the Royal Rogue. I know that I'm going to watch that teaser frame by frame, and countless memes will be generated. That is the idea, in fact. And that would be good for Meghan. You know what would be truly sad? That Meghan releases a teaser for her cooking show and releases a teaser that is so antiseptically edited, is so meh to play safe, that it doesn't give any, doesn't give you any, doesn't make you feel anything. That would be sad. We are expecting something outrageous from the House of Montecito. We don't know. I am afraid that would be really bad. I don't know which is worse for Netflix. If you have this backlash of memes and jokes about the teaser, shall it be released? Or if the reaction is lukewarm. If the reaction was lukewarm, that would be really bad. That would be absolutely worrying. Because what is Ted Sarandos? What does Ted Sarandos want? He wants new subscribers. He wants people subscribing to Netflix. And no, the Polo documentary, I don't know how to say this. I don't see how it could bring new subscribers to Netflix. Maybe, you know, because we have these numbers, more Americans and people all over the world had this from Antenna. More Americans cancel streaming services. Percentage of customers who have canceled 3 or more subscriptions in last 2 years, from 2021 to 2024, almost 1 in 4 Americans have canceled 3 or more subscriptions. Okay, so they are just retaining the bare minimum. I have to say that Netflix still has a good chunk of that, but I really don't think, how to say this, that whatever the articles do is going to make a difference in subscribers. And I'm going to tell you what is going to happen with those, with the cooking show and the Polo show. What is happening right now, for example, with Disney and Star Wars? That is, there is many people, or more people watching YouTubers talking about shows like The Acolyte. You know, that Disney, Star Wars released this crazy show, The Acolyte, a Star Wars show. I haven't seen it. I have seen The Acolyte, quote unquote, watching YouTubers, if that makes sense. And I just realized, making this making this live stream, making the script and the presentation, that I have spent more time watching YouTubers talk about the Acolyte than if I had watched the Acolyte myself. Does that make sense? I don't know. I know it was like 6 episodes or 8 episodes. I really don't know. I have no idea. But maybe every episode was half an hour. So if it was 8 episodes, it was 4 hours in total. I really don't know. And I'm absolutely sure that I've watched more than 4 hours of YouTubers talking about the Acolyte. I have various entertainment channels. I love listening about Disney. And it's crazy because this is actually a thing. People end up watching more content on YouTube about these shows than watching the shows themselves. And most of the time, they actually do not watch the shows, especially if the shows are bad. That is a thing. That is something that is happening. And no, the Netflix, Disney cannot stop this. The only thing that they can do is that you put a clip of one part of the show. They can send you a copyright claim or something, and but if you can talk about the show without putting any clips that are outside of the trailers and without putting any sound but only your voice, you're usually good. And yes, people will watch much more YouTubers talking about content than the content itself. And this is becoming more and more common. And what's happening? What's happening with that? That maybe you want to watch a show, and I've told you it's very different if you're going to watch a movie. Maybe the first 30 minutes of the movie, like maybe, okay, this I could finish this, and you finish the movie, and that's okay. But a show, the first episode of a show is usually the best. Okay, sometimes it's the pilot. Sometimes the first episode is meant to sell the rest of the season. That's what makes sense. In fact, the structure is that the first episode of a show should sell the rest of the season, and the end of the season, or the show, the episode at the end of the season, should sell the following season. And so, and keep it that way. This is the way that it's done. It is normal. We have seen it hundreds of times with all the shows that we have seen. But the problem is, we are in this era in which the amount of content that we have is so big, is so massive. It's like royal content. It's not many of you do not watch only the Royal Rogue. You watch the Royal Rogue. You watch Lady C. You watch Neil Sean. You watch According to Taz. You watch Megan Small. You watch all this. You watch Popcorn Palace as well. And Popcorn. Big shout out to Andy. And it is normal. It is normal. It's something that is it's like me watching this Disney shows, not the shows themselves, but people talking about the shows. So it's a phenomenon that I have started, and I find it so funny, in which it's more about the commentary about the show than the show itself. In fact, it's really difficult to make the show really gripping. The thing about documentaries is that they want to like make something real. But what is more real, for example, and that's why YouTubers that are focused on the trials and lawsuits and all, why is that so popular? Because something that is real. It's a real trial, something that is happening in real time, and an investigation that is an actual riddle an actual mystery and something from real life that is unraveling in real time. And people are just fascinated by that. What is more real than that? Anything. How many legal dramas can you have? You can have all the legal dramas that you want. And the problem is, as time moves on, as we have more and more years and decades, you begin to compare any legal dramas with previous legal dramas that you have watched. That is normal. And you say, all right, I have seen this before, and it becomes harder and harder for writers to come up with new ideas. So I'm trying to give you an insight of what I've seen in the entertainment industry. I know that this is something that fascinates me. And since Meghan and Harry are on that production business, well, this is what they got. They chose the worst possible time to get into the entertainment production business. Only industry giants like Tyler Perry have the influence and money to continue in this field. But as I've told you again, I am not a fan of Tyler Perry, but I respect the hard work of the guy. I mean, that number, 2,000 shows produced, that was jaw-dropping. But he's quite clever, right? He sees that there are all these high-budget productions that are not breaking even, those like 50 million, 100 million, 200 million productions that cannot break even in these days, cannot get not even their money back. And that is very risky in terms of business. You don't want to make a movie or a TV show that loses money. Nobody wants that. So what he's been doing is something quite clever. You just produce more content. You are not married or not tied to just one streaming platform. You remember that he produces content for Netflix and for Amazon Prime as well, Prime Video. And he makes sure to keep the budget of his productions very tight. So it's like he's making these small bets here and there. That is the best approach. That is the current approach nowadays. That's why it's like when we talk about YouTube, in many ways, you see all these journalists that are moving to YouTube, which is, well, being literally on their own. It's like Piers Morgan. It's like Dan Wootton. I'm sure that they're going to do in YouTube much better than in any big company. That is the future. I have seen the writing in the wall from some time ago. I've been studying YouTube and YouTube channels a lot. That's why I will be maybe making a little of a spin or a change of my body language guide channel, make it more about news commentary, of course, with body language insights. That is not going to change, but faster, quicker, time-sensitive content. That is the thing. That is, from my point of view, is like what Tyler Perry is doing, making quicker bets on smaller budget productions, and that makes sense. Harry and Meghan have no idea of how that works, and of course they don't have the money muscle of Tyler Perry to do anything about it. They just have to go with whatever Netflix decides. By the way, something that happens to me a lot when I'm making these presentations, if I look for a picture of Tyler Perry with Meghan Markle, that is quite impossible. It's impossible. Like, this is the only clip or media or footage that includes Tyler Perry and Meghan, well, of course, Harry, when they arrived in America, and Perry let them stay at his mansion, and that's it. Don't you find it odd that for someone who defends Harry and Meghan so much, there are no other pictures? Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they have appeared, but I just go to Google. It is me. You can go to Google Images, and put Tyler Perry and Meghan Markle, or Tyler Perry with Meghan Markle, or Tyler Perry and Meghan Markle in the same picture. And I don't know if it's my Google, but it is quite impossible. And I find it quite odd, for all that he defends the Harkles. But following up in the issues of the Harkles is that they are all over the place. They should focus on the entertainment production, on the production of content. Focus on just one kind of content. The issue is that these two try to do too much at the same time. Produce video, produce podcasts, write a book. You can do all that at the same time, but you need practice about it. So they have, I'm sorry, but I don't know how to say this in a non-family friendly way. So here comes a non-family friendly word. They have half-assed everything that they have done so far. And that just doesn't work, because it's not like they have done it many times. It's like they have done things the lousy way 4 or 5 times. Like 4 or 5 times they have had these trips to like the trip to Nigeria. No, it was just once. Or Harry had one book, or had one documentary, and all of them are like half-baked. And that is the problem. I remember, I don't know who has this quote on, I don't remember who is this quote from. But he said that your first book is, in fact, you have to call it your first book. You have to call it your first book, because you have to write the second book. And the second book should push you to write the third book, and so forth. And the principle is very easy. The more books that you write, the better you become at it. Okay, so if you do things only once, no, that is not going to work. That is not going to work. And I'm not even going to mention American Riviera Orchard, because the launch of whatever is this, that is already cold. It is, I don't have a witty analogy right now, but it's colder than you can imagine. It just cooled down in a way that lost all momentum. The only way to sell this would have been through the cooking show. No cooking show, no American Riviera Orchard. I'm going to confess. I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm getting a bit tired of even having inside information of what's going on. I think it's the fact that I have predicted so many of these things. I have been wrong in some of them. I have been wrong about some things about the Harry memoirs, but I have predicted at least 60% of, or more, 70%. 70% I have predicted what has happened. So it begins to get boring, especially for the fact that right now we don't really have something concrete in the Harkles' future. We don't have that teaser, and as I'm telling you, it's gonna be a miracle if they get that teaser out. And they are afraid of what is going to be the real reaction to the teaser, if it's gonna draw people to anything or it's gonna be just a lukewarm reception. And the worst possible scenario for the Harkles, and something that Netflix could think at some point, and Penguin Random House would think at some point, could think, depending of what kind of contract do they have on the Harkles, is what I have told you about Warner Brothers many times. When Batgirl, the movie that was 100% finished, had the final cut, with all the effects, with everything, was literally deleted from Warner Brothers servers on purpose, was removed, was deleted. Well, we're not going to talk about this movie, not because the movie was bad, because people who saw the movie said, well, the movie can actually hold. It's actually nice for fans. But Warner Brothers decide to, if we release the movie and it doesn't, earn the money that we're expecting, and I'm sure that they made the calculations and they realized it was not going to earn the money that they expected, it is just cheaper to just assume the loss and get it as a tax break. And they literally deleted a movie that was 100% finished. And no, nobody has a copy of the movie. Not that we know, because we know that if someone has a copy of the movie, maybe if they are still working at Warner Brothers, they are not going to release it. But rest assured that as soon as that person, if someone has a copy of Batgirl, if they get fired or they no longer work for Warner Brothers, we're going to see that. So it is a possibility that Penguin Random House or Netflix could say at some point, you know what? It's better for us to not release anything. Again, I don't know the details of the contract of the Harkles. I don't know. They say 100 million. But yeah, you could say 100 million, but what are the conditions of those 100 million? Because the conditions might be you need to produce X amount of content, X amount of hours of content, X amount of footage, X amount of X episodes or hours or individual shows. I don't know. And if you don't get to that amount of that pre-arranged amount, then you don't get the full 100 million. That would be fair, right? You're not gonna pay for nothing. You promise that you're going to have 100 million, but I would not believe for a second that Netflix is not gonna have, maybe not Disney grade attorneys, but it's gonna have decent attorneys. I don't think anybody is gonna sign someone writing a check for 100 million with a guarantee that people are actually going to do what they claim. Because what happens if you sign the check and 5 years pass and they do literally nothing? No, there has to be a clause of, well, you did what you have to do. You did not put any obstacles. You cooperated. You tried in your best interest, in good faith, to do whatever this contract said, and that's when you get part of those 100 million. Maybe the 100 million was up to 100 million. We don't know, but logic says that no company is gonna give away 100 million just like that. So, big trouble, not to mention the worst trouble of all, the worst trouble of all is something that everybody knows. Accepting the Pat Tillman Award was one of the worst decisions that Harry and Meghan could have ever made. Why? Because the backlash was absolutely not worth it. And you know that this was just Serena wanting to use Harry and Meghan, and more precisely Harry, for marketing purposes. She had nothing to lose. ESPN, well, I don't think, I think maybe ESPN believes that their audience, ESPN's audience, specifically in the United States, do not care much about Harry, but Harry was going to make worldwide headlines, and Serena needed that for the launch for a documentary, but still, I don't see anybody talking about the documentary. That is great. Harry received the award. It was this huge backlash. Virtually no backlash to Serena. All the backlash was on Harry. Serena had all the marketing that she needed, and everybody except Meghan and Harry are happy about it. But no, even if the rent a royals thing, even if the rent a royals thing could be a thing for them, could bring money and, well, some other projects, maybe not as much money as producing entertainment that people watch. But again, this, you here watching YouTube, watching the Royal Rogue on YouTube, this is the future of content creation. That rent a royal status only depends on brand image and, most important, reputation. And if your reputation goes low enough, and let's say that whoever wants to bid for you, to rent you as a royal, it's gonna be lower. So again, I remember, I think it was Neil Sean. I think it was Neil Sean, if I remember correctly. I don't have a, oh my God, I don't have a napkin here. Well, I remember it was Neil Sean. I could say that it was around October or November 2021. I think it was Neil Sean who said in 2021, October or November, was in the last quarter of the year, that just 1 year later, Harry and Meghan would be absolutely, how to say that, irrelevant. That people were not going to pay attention to them anymore. And back then, with my limited knowledge of the scope of what the story of the royal family, I already, you know that at that point I was almost focusing exclusively on Harry and Meghan and all their shenanigans and analyzing all those old videos. I said, well, I think that 1 year from now, that is too rushed. I don't think they're going to be irrelevant by the end of 2022. And you remember that 2022, well, we had a lot happening with the royal family. And of course, that gave them this indirect exposure, right? Then we had 2023, and now we are in 2024. And as I'm seeing this, maybe I'm wrong, I'm going to make a prediction. I see all the things that they have, all the bridges that they have burned, all the ways that they have been mocked. For example, that South Park episode that is, I don't know, that is literally the most watched video on the Royal Road. By the way, it has more than 800,000 views. So much they have spent already, so much they have burned already, that I really don't see, well, anything besides the reality show. That would be the only thing left, a reality show. That would be interesting, but not even the Beckhams had to go there. But the only thing that could save them is a reality show. My prediction is that given this downward spiral and not really, how to say this, like actually building anything, and I mean anything, that 2026 is what I believe that would be the, like, this is as far as their brand can go, the way that it goes right now. I have no idea what they could change. They could change their brand and personality and everything, and have a reality show, and I don't know if even that will be enough. I really don't see how they can go past 2026. I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the next Invictus Games is in 2026, right? Am I wrong? Where's 2025? I don't know. Is it if it's in 2026, maybe that would be just a tiny breath on that year. But as I see it, it's like we're getting at the end of whatever time the Harkles bought themselves from that Oprah interview. We're at the peak. When is Whistler? Yeah, I would like to know when is Whistler, because I don't remember. I really don't. 2025. All right. Whistler is in Canada, 2025. Thanks, Christina. Whistler, 2025. I don't see it. And the Netflix contract ends in 2025. I don't see how this could work. This is one of the reasons that I've told you many times that I've at some point I've decided to cover more and more of the royal family, not much of the Harkles. But again, because in many ways they were fun. In many videos, I will never forget, and many of you rogues were there, my live of Meghan the Wedding Crasher. That was just perfection. I remember that we had such a great time. I have still left that live stream on my Body Language Guy channel. Maybe at some point I will move it here. Will not republish it, but we'll add it on a playlist so you can watch it here on the Royal Rogue. I have moved most of my content of the Royals from the Body Language Guy here. But that was great. But that was great. We reviewed those pictures and we had the greatest time. But that is done. What can the Harkles? It is Meghan going to have another appearance at a parking lot? We are already used to that. We have many pictures like that. Is Harry going to accept another paid-for award? We have seen that a couple times as well. Are they going to go for the Invictus Games a couple times more, taking advantage of the veterans for marketing? Yeah, we have seen that in the past as well. Are we going to see Harry fighting the British media for their privacy and voicemails? That can only go so far, maybe 1-2 years tops. What are they going to do when they realize that, or Lemonada realize that people don't really want to listen to Meghan's podcast? I don't know. So I just know one thing. Maybe you are worried. You're worried. What are you saying? What are you saying, Jesus? What are you saying? I'm just saying that at some point, yeah, they will lose all relevance. Most probably, I will be making not a pivot, because lately I have been talking about the royal family more and more. But most probably I would be talking more about the royal family and British culture and everything related to British traditions. And of course, learning about these British traditions. It could be a change. It is going to be a change for my channel, but sometimes you just have to move on. And move on in the sense that I will still be here. We can just talk about trends, read your comments. Oh yes. I want to remind you that I have no beef with Neil Sean. I remember that like 2 years ago he blocked me, but I reached out to him and he told me there was a mistake. No big deal. Again, maybe we are not friends. I'm not friends with Neil Sean. Maybe I'm closer, so to speak, with Lady C, in the sense that I got to interview her. But something that I absolutely do is respect Neil Sean's career. I mean, that guy has been consistent in his career, especially since we met, so to speak, on YouTube. He's been uploading videos like for more than 10 years. So I need to. Oh my God, Mr. Steed was not today on the live stream. I have to tip my hat to that, because well, that is that Mr. Steed needs more light to shine. Time to shine, Mr. Steed. And something that deserves my respect: Neil Sean's career, as for Lady C's career, as for, of course, every single royal commentator on YouTube that was here before I arrived. I had tip for you, because you have been doing the work that many people, that is the thing, that maybe I don't hold grudges with some of them. Some of them have said things about me that are just plain lies, but I don't hold a grudge. I don't pay attention to that much. But one thing I do know: worse yet are the people who do not create content at all. I have made my best to create the best content, the best royal content for you. And this is something that I have thought about a bit many times, in which that freedom is something that is one of my most important values. I think being free is something that for me is fundamental in my life. Something that I defend, and I would like to inspire you to be free as well. And I'm saying this because if I have a show that depends on a pair of morons doing or not doing something, which is quite more common that they don't do something, that is not actual freedom. That is being tied to something, and it's a bit sad to be tied to this. I mean, I don't like it. I have had this introspection. I mean, this so lovely community of my Royal Rogues, you watching here my lives and my videos. I always finding the way to give you the best format possible, and you have these two that have become a parody of themselves. There comes a time when you say, okay, I know content, I know how this works, I know that at some point you have to say, okay, maybe my lovely audience deserves better. And many of you are here for the gossip. That is great. But you are also here. You are also here watching me, the Royal Rogue, and Mr. Steed, because you know that I don't speak about the royal family or don't speak about Harry and Meghan in certain ways, and say things about Meghan that I 100% disagree with. And I realize that, okay, they cannot find any more content about Meghan, then they begin to say things that, no, I will not go there. I will not go there. And I know that that is one of the reasons that you watch my show. Okay, we know that Jesus is going to be measured. Jesus is going to be a gentleman. I know that I have broken that rule a couple times. But again, it's that way. I'm trying to, like, I'm thinking out loud right now. I've given this much thought, and it's like you can tell a joke and you can make fun of people's projects, not of people themselves, people's projects, just a number of times, and it becomes tiresome. So this is not saying maybe Meghan tomorrow announces a new line of jam and all this. We get into it again. But being freedom so important to me, I don't want to depend about it. Again, I'm 100% sure that, how to say this, I'm 100% sure that as long as I stick to the values that have built the Royal Rogue, and the memes, of course, they have built the Royal Rogue, and as soon as I try to bring you the best entertainment, and of course, the news about the royal family, I'm sure that we will be all right. Again, it's how to say this, it's sometimes boring trying to, all right, I have new insights. That's why in fact the other day was, my guess was the last time I uploaded an old video of the Body Language Guy here on the Royal Road channel. And yes, you have seen all those analysis already, and it's like I would not make those analysis again, and there's no more content about the articles. I know what they are going to do and what they are not going to do, so This I've been thinking for sometimes. Maybe the royal rogue has to, at some point, I know that I have to move on and focus on what is important, on the values and principles, and that's why we are fans of the royal family. But these are just general thoughts, like random thoughts that I've noticed recently. Like, okay, it's like we have this dry spell of content. It's okay. I can just, I have analyzed all videos. I have republished all videos. But at some point, I had to say, you have to move on. We have to move on. And rest assured, my royal rogues, that I will keep making the best videos for you. The best videos, because that is all that matters. And one thing that I'm really grateful is that we are here live, and you're sending your wishes and your comments, and you are so lovely. And let me see. Oh my God, I have 3 super chats I haven't addressed. And I know that we are gonna be okay. And yes, sometimes I ask myself, what can I do to make it more fun? I will come up with the answer, I'm sure. Oh, this is nice. Thanks for the advice, Sandy. A smart TV and decent internet, and you get all kinds of channels for free. My son got me a $20 rabbit ear antenna that gets all the local channels. That's great, Sandy. Thanks for the tip. And Christiane G, thanks for your super sticker as well. And Wonder Woman, super chat, Amen, Jesus, follow your heart and your God. Yes, I think there's so much that we can talk about the royal family and the traditions and the culture and architecture and everything. Maybe that's where the royal rogue should go. We are tired. You know what you know what we are tired about? We are talking about the olive branch. If I read the olive branch once again, no, that's what I'm talking about. My mind, the royal rogue's mind is, I don't want to read olive branch again. For the love of anything that is sacred, I don't want to read olive branch again. The more that you read olive branch in the headlines of the media, the more that you realize that the media has nothing to talk about. So let's change that. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. But my royal rogues, my name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the royal rogue, and until we meet another live, remember the most important words: much love and bliss. Take care. I love every single one of you. Bye-bye.